Good morning and welcome to the Friday, September 13th, 2024 meeting of the Winnipeg Police Board. I hope there's nobody out there that has triskaidekaphobia in terms of it being Friday the 13th. We're joined today in the North Committee Room by His Worship, Mayor Scott Gillingham, our Vice Chair, Colleen Mayer, Board Member Damon Johnson, Board Member Daphne Penrose, Board Member Kevin Selch, and we want to welcome newest Board Member Diane Redsky. We're also joined by the service by the Interim Chief, Art Stannard, as well as Deputy Chief Scott Halley and Deputy Chief Gene Bowers. We are also served today, this morning, with our clerk, Kate Miller, who's filling in for our acting CAO, why is his name escaping me? Sherwood Armbruster. I wish to start our meeting off by acknowledging that we are Treaty 1 territory, ancestral home of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Cree, Oji Cree, Dene, and Dakota people, the birthplace of the Red River Métis Nation, and that the water that we drink is sourced from Shoal Lake 40, located in Treaty 3 territory. And I also want to acknowledge Kim Nicholson, who is the policy analyst with the Winnipeg Police Service. So with that, I will need a motion to accept our last meeting of June 17th of the Winnipeg Police Board. Damon, thank you for forwarding motions, and Scott for seconding. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. We will now move into delegations and turn it over to our clerk to announce the delegate speaking this morning.
David Grant with respect to reports 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. David is joining us via Zoom. So David, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and turn on your video, you have up to 10 minutes for your presentation.
Okay. Trying to unmute. There we go. Good morning. I guess I'll start off with the report in topic 8. It's crucial to the management of the service. The board is to be commended for publishing this document. Everyone who is concerned with policing in Winnipeg should read this document, both those opposed to policing and those wanting better enforcement. They should then send in any resulting comments, as the board has invited, that they may have to the board. Our TV news companies could help getting this message out to the public. And I'm not sure what other means we can use to get this important report out to everybody who's concerned with this. Policing and safety is important to everybody, and they should appreciate the tough job that the board and the service have trying to meet all the demands. Moving on, the simple message, why that fast, seems a bit strange, but it's featured in this report. Not in the report on 8, in the financial report. It's a catchy one to make the public think of automated speed enforcement, PE. But one could ask, where's the safety data as required by law for decades? Has anyone on the board asked this question of the service? The public has been raising this point for many years. And as far as I know, the service has been silent.
Welcome to the Standing Policy Committee on Property and Development, our regular meeting.
Can we, David, you're the one turning the delegation.
Anyway, I'm going to deal with this other problem. I have concurrent meetings, so I'll have to do that. Sorry about that, folks. There are 2 scheduled meetings at 9:30. I'm speaking at both. Anyway, the third topic, I'll move on. There seems to be an issue with white-collar crime. The team which investigates such matters for the RCMP has been shrunk and defunded over the years. The money in charge explained at a meeting at 1091 Portage that they can only dig into a matter if it is raised by the mayor or the premier. They have staff enough to handle whatever half dozen cases, and that's how many they have. To the extent that those doing the defunding might themselves someday be investigated, this seems a bit ironic. And this is separate entirely from the Winnipeg Police Service, but obviously of interest. With respect, may I ask the board to inquire about WPS investigations involving the relatively famous? When there is hard written evidence, should WPS have to explain to the board, decision not to investigate an allegation.
Just
And
hold on.
I just leave it at
Could you hold on one second? Is this an agenda item that you're speaking to, or could you just speak to the agenda items that you've listed? Okay, we're not discussing investigations, just agenda
have I
items.
been muted this whole time?
No, David, you haven't been muted the whole time. I just muted you so that the chair could ask his question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I didn't have the video of your meeting in front of me, so I was not aware of that. Sorry.
Okay, just speak to the agenda items. We're not here to talk about investigation, please.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Anyway, that was, and I wasn't getting into a specific investigation. It was, and the same with the issue of photo enforcement. That is in one of the reports that I did ask to speak to. And that topic has been raised before. And we'll just leave it at that. And it struck me that those are both things that could be in the reports by the chair or by the service itself. And that's all I have to say. And thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Are there any questions of the delegate this morning? Seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you for your presentation this morning. We'll move on to the second delegate. Thank you.
Next delegation, joining us in person, Jessica Peoples, you have your to report number 8. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning,
How are
Jessica.
you doing?
If you
Bug
could-
you too much.
if you could state your name for the record.
Yeah, my name is Jessica Peebles. And I wanted to discuss the environment of policing. There wasn't actually, when you go online, the information that was online wasn't the correct agenda for this meeting, so I didn't have the exact information as to what you were gonna talk to. Sorry, is there a way I can?
There's an echo.
Just hear it echo?
Didn't get it to go either.
Okay, I'm just gonna sit back a little bit.
Friday the
for
13th.
myself. Yeah,
What's that?
I love Friday the 13th, it's my favorite. Okay, oh, awesome, thank you. Okay, so, I wrote up some stuff and, obviously I always just go with my gut because I don't like reading from reports, but, the environment of policing that we're finding, you know, there's a lot of, stress, like with the media on the police and everything like that. And then I'm finding that there's a lot of misinformation. Even I was, kind of victim to that as well. In regards to what police can actually do and how they delegate things in terms of youth crime. There's a lot of complex variables that go along with it because you have to get different organizations involved with everything. And the one thing that I keep stemming back to all the time with poverty, with crime, with all the types of things like that is our education system here has kind of failed a lot of people that slip through the cracks. Because if you look at the stats for people who are in prisons, there's like 79% of people who are in prison don't even have a grade 8 education. Grade 8. So I know that in my family, the people who were involved with police the most, they don't have a high school education. And then the higher up you get in terms of education, it seems to be that you can find opportunities for yourself because you're able to navigate the world a little bit better, right? So what's happening is a brunt of it's not just policing systems and everything that's kind of you're getting the most scrutiny about it because it's what it is, but it's a vast majority of it. The healthcare system right now is failing people with addictions. It's just how it is. There's just too many people and there's not enough specialists in order to be able to help. We're relying a lot on psychiatry. And that's something that I wanted to do for a very long time was I wanted to be a forensic psychiatrist. That was my goal for education. But as I'm finding what we're actually dealing with is trauma. And trauma isn't necessarily linked to psychiatry. It's linked to the nervous system, which includes the brain. But our nervous system is what we're dealing with. So explosive behavior, like emotional outbursts and it's all connected to the police. And so when the police come in and they're triggering people, unintentionally, you know, sometimes it can be, but sometimes it can be intentionally. Like I've had some not so great instances with police, but I've rectified that with them, spoken with them. And what we're dealing with is not just crime. We're dealing with emotional dysregulation. And a lot of that is linked to education levels. So the more you know about the world around you, the more you can learn about the world inside you. And there needs to be kind of a link. If there's a possible way that people who are repeat multiple offenders, if there's a way that you can get them into some sort of education program to better themselves, rather than, you know, rely solely on the justice system, so that they can maybe have an opportunity. I'm not too sure. I don't know the ins and outs about all of that, but we need to up the level of education in Manitoba. If you look at the stats, we're ranked one of the lowest in Canada in terms of education levels. And I spoke with a teacher a couple days ago, actually, and she said that she's like, we kind of failed our math teachers. We kind of failed our students. You know, like she said it herself. You know, as long as we're understanding that there are, you know, issues in our society that aren't specifically related to crime, but ends up turning into crime. Because if you can't read or like do basic math, how can you get even entry-level position jobs? You know, so, and it kind of leaves them in a situation where they have to commit crime. And I know I grew up in the area, have family members who, you know, the only thing that they can do is crime. And then it's not until somebody takes a chance on them, and usually the private business sector takes a chance on them, come work with me. And then has to repeatedly kind of give them that chance over and over, give them the time. They're never gonna find their self-worth if somebody else doesn't show it to them first. If that's that, a lot of people might say that's backwards, but when you come from that mindset, you have these negative thoughts and negative self-perceptions that lead to a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, this is all I'll ever be. And I've spoken with some youth who said, well, I come from a family that's just crime, you know, so it's all I'm ever going to be. So the police are dealing with the brunt of that, right? And you guys are police officers, you're not therapists, you're not mental health specialists and everything, but a lot of the issues right now stemming from addictions and mental health is actually something that should fall under the healthcare system. And that's what I was doing with my business before. And then I got slandered. I ended up losing everything, and it made it really hard. It set me back 4.5 years. Like, before I was slandered, I was almost making $100,000 for myself. And I was finally able to, you know, put back toward my business, pay off things that I owed. And I did that myself. But I wouldn't have done that if I didn't get to an education level of university, because I wouldn't have understood the world. But because I educated myself and I worked my way up, I was able to navigate things better. And then I was able to rely less on the system. And I know for me, I was trying to upgrade my math courses, and it was really hard to even just find courses to upgrade high school math. So there needs to be a little bit more of support in terms of adult education, and also youth that, you know, might not like going to school. Maybe if there's a separate kind of section for them that maybe they can go to school with their parents. Because I know a lot of Indigenous adults, they don't have their education, right? So imagine if we had a program where you can go to school with your kids and you can learn together and you can have that bonding experience. But yeah, I wanted to mention, because of my situation and how I was almost killed for my business in the healthcare system, I know how competitive the private market is in our healthcare system, which is why if there's a way that the agency work that's been heavily scrutinized in the media can be integrated with the policing, because policing, you're doing a lot of healthcare anyway. And a lot of the stuff that you are doing, like if you're taking people with mental health to the hospitals, well, maybe we can have somebody come in from a different organization, but that's technically with you guys, because that's what I was trying to do. And if somebody tried to end my life for it, I think the police should be involved with that type of business. Because if it's that, sorry, but what they can do is you can delegate the tasks. Okay, they're at the hospital now, they're safe. Let's go do policing and then tag off at the hospital and say, you stay here now with them, we'll go do other things. And then that way you can free up some time for policing. And then the healthcare system that can be integrated as well, because if you're dealing with mental health, then you just get somebody there who's like, who can stand and be an escort for the person and knows the system and the healthcare system a little bit more. And then it's kind of like a tag team off, you know? But that's what I was gonna bring forward. I have a meeting next week regarding homelessness, and I'm bringing all my research to an advisor for Mayor Gillingham. So I'm gonna bring all of that, and I'm gonna just integrate everything together. Because I had a housing program, I had a mental health support program, and it all would stem from the money that would have been made from the private healthcare sector. Because as much as I love being a healthcare worker, but I wasn't doing it for the money. I was paying myself the bare minimum, and I was paying my staff the best that I could possibly pay them because they needed to be compensated. I didn't get paid even as much as my staff did. But if we're able to integrate both together, because a lot of the policing right now is dealing with health, the healthcare system. And if there's not enough funding for police to respond to these types of calls, then it should come from the healthcare system. And instead of adding more to the healthcare system budget, if we just implement the agency workers to work alongside with the police, then it can free up lots of money in the budget to be able to provide staffing. So.
Thank you very much for your presentation, very informative. I just want to start by just saying there is a multidisciplinary approach to policing. Out of that was born the ART program, something that we're working diligently towards ensuring it at a higher capacity in terms of dealing with those that are in our community with mental health issues, addiction issues, and the like. We recognize that, you know, in terms of policing, for those handoffs at whether it's at one of our healthcare facilities or Main Street Project or School Mission, yes, we can get individuals secured quickly and police back out on you know, in the community, working in the community, helping with crime prevention and things like that. It will help keep our community safer. So you are absolutely correct in terms of linking more and more health services towards helping the individuals in our community. Police are responding a lot to wellness checks, and that's an important acknowledgement. David, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica, for speaking to two very important issues for the Indigenous community in Winnipeg, and that's health and education. And there's some good news on the front. The Winnipeg Regional Health Authority is committed to developing a new Indigenous health strategy. And then we, the urban Indigenous community is going to push to have the province now to help develop an Indigenous health strategy for the province. And then hopefully the federal government as well. So those are critical steps. On the education side, there's been reports over the past year about a rise in absenteeism in our schools and their classes. We think, again, we need data, better data overall, but we believe that a significant portion of the absenteeism would be within members of the Indigenous school population. And we do have an education committee of the Winnipeg Indigenous Executive Circle focused on those issues. But there's a lot more work to be done in terms of better coordination, cooperation, communication between the different groups of interest that are pushing for these kinds of changes. And right now in Winnipeg, the historic urban Indigenous community, which is primarily Indigenous charitable not-for-profits, established over a period of 70 years now. The growing capacity of First Nation specific organizations, Métis and Inuit, we need better connection there too. So we're working on these things, and we're hopeful with our new government that we'll be able to make some better progress addressing the kind of issues that we've raised today. So your interests are shared by many of us, and I just want you to know that. So thank you.
Like in my personal experience in the health, when I was in school, I did have some teachers who told me that I would never amount to anything because I was Indigenous. So they do it behind closed doors, right? So when you try to address these things, they'll just say, I didn't say that. And so I've heard from my own family members and some other members in the community that there are some cases that are going on like that. And that's the reason why I started skipping in high school. There would be certain classes that I would skip on purpose because of how I was treated by the instructors. And it's not, it's just like, it's just a thing, right? So if somebody is upset and they'll take it out on somebody, it's just a psychology thing. It's just being able to identify those things and being able to speak with the students, for them to be able to articulate what's going on without fear, I think is important too. And to not, go out seeking revenge and wanting justice against the people who harm them, but finding a way that we can work together to work through our issues. And if somebody has bias towards Indigenous people or towards people in poverty, then maybe they shouldn't be working in those types of schools. They can go work somewhere else, and we get people in who really want to strive and make a difference, right? And it happens. Like I'm even getting treated by certain staff members at schools that I work alongside of. Some people treat me with respect and some people don't, and that's how it is with the students too, right? So even if it's unintentional disrespect, it's all about perception, right? And it's like our self-perception. So if it's almost like you have to go one step further to ensure that the students feel safe there. So for you, it might seem, yeah, I'm treating them like everybody else, but the student's mindset is a little bit different than other students' mindsets. And that's what we have to focus on, right? Is finding ways to improve that mindset that we have in our youth, because mindset takes you everywhere. It doesn't matter. It will take you far. So.
Thank you. Are there any other questions of board members? Seeing none, thank you very much for your
I
presentation.
really appreciate the time that you've given me here, and you've helped me heal and grow. And I dealt with the PTSD, and the first time I came was like a year and a half ago. It takes a year and a half to re-regulate your nervous system by yourself. So if you had a team that was around people and a community support, it can be done in less time. And there's lots of great landlords out there who are trying to implement that on their own. And I just want to say thank you to those landlords, and I'm grateful to the landlord that I have now, who's been phenomenal, because safe housing is 100% the first step. Maslow's hierarchy, right? Foundation is housing first.
Thank you. Okay, great. We will now move into reports, starting with the report of the chairperson. I'm going to start by saying, on behalf of the Winnipeg Police Board, I'd like to extend a thank you to former Chief Danny Smythe, who retired from the Winnipeg Police Service on September 3rd, 2024, after 38 years of service as a police officer. He was appointed Chief of Police on November 4th, 2016, was the first chief hired by a police board, and has led the Winnipeg Police Service through a period of changes, including the COVID pandemic. We thank you for the service to the citizens of Winnipeg and wish you all the best in your retirement. I'm also pleased to announce that Deputy Chief Art Stannard has accepted the position of Interim Chief of Police until the board recommends an appointment for the next Chief of Police later on this year. As well, on behalf of the board, I would like to welcome Diane Redsky, who was appointed by the province of Manitoba to the Winnipeg Police Board and joined the board on June 20th, 2024. We look forward to working with Diane. She's already had some significant input to this board and continues with important projects and initiatives and on new ones. My report summarizes events attended since our last public meeting on June 7th. I wasn't here for that, but I will just go over a couple of the highlights. On June 18th, members of the Winnipeg Police Board Chief Recruitment Committee attended a public consultation with First Nations, Inuit, Red River Métis community for their input on the hiring of the next Chief of Police. I provided greetings on behalf of the board. On June 20th, we also met as a Winnipeg Police Board Chief Recruitment Committee in consultation with First Nations women, persons with disabilities, 2 SLGBTQ plus community, racialized or persons of color, newcomers, for their input on the hiring of the next chief of police. The vice chair provided greetings on behalf of the board. On August 29th, I, along with Mayor Scott Gillingham, attended a media event announcing that the province of Manitoba has extended the funding for the violent crime and retail theft initiative. On September 5th, I attended a reception in honor of former Chief Danny Smythe, hosted by the Honorable Anita R. Neville, PC, and Order of Manitoba, Lieutenant Governor of Manitoba at Government House. One thing that, again, the board does that is a bit of a fun thing is in support of Bike to Work Week. The board hosted a pit stop just on Main Street outside of the board offices. And we're pleased to see all of those that participated in Bike to Work Week. And we handed out information about the board as well as different swag and signed all of those cards of individuals who are biking to work and helping our environments while staying healthy. The rest of the information in the in terms of activities is listed for perusal. The committee of whole met privately on June 14th, 2024 to discuss the WPS budget estimates for 2025 to 2027, and on June 25th to review the internal complaint, and on July 3rd, 2024 to resolve an internal complaint. The board also met as a committee of a whole on August 23rd, 2024 to review a quarterly budget report on the Winnipeg Police Service budget and business audit plans of the Winnipeg Police Board budget reports. Again, a lot of the information is contained in the report. In the interest of time and brevity, I wish to submit this as the chairperson's report for today's public meeting. Just to advise that our next public meeting of the Winnipeg Police Board is scheduled for Friday, December 6th on 2024. Therein lies my report. I will ask if it could be moved for adoption as information. Vice Chair Colleen, seconded by Mayor Scott Gillingham. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And we'll now move into the report from the Chief of Police, and I will ask Interim Chief Art Standard to provide his report.
Hey, later in the year for the new chief, or anyways, it's nice to be here today. A little bit about myself, I did act before for about 10 months after the chief Clunas left, so it's my privilege to be acting for this short period of time. I want to start by just on behalf of myself and the whole position. I just want again just be able to respect their family, friends, and community for our chief. With the opportunity to spend some time with the next quarter, and just a tremendous leader and her kindness and compassion. That's why I go to that night and it was a very honored part of a lot of different rituals and inviting you. So I just want to say that she's a great loss. Thank you for that. They say that, you know, they always say that you're only as good as your people, and I have to tell you, I got great people around me that help me with this acting chief. All of it, you know, sitting here, the executive director here, and the 2 deputies, and everybody sitting here, the 2,000 members that whatever you need. That means watch me and so this is a difficult report to share. A lot of it's Chief Danny Smythe's report because he was on the boat still Sunday last week. So I just kind of want to highlight a couple of unique things. We're also a couple presentations, so I'm mindful of time as well. But hard to believe that on September 3rd we said goodbye to 266 Hartford. That was at our station. It's interesting. I need to share some history for you. It was opened in 1961. It cost $57,000, which I'm sure at that time was a lot of money. But it was only meant to house 14 police officers and 13 fire personnel. Today, before we moved, it housed 170 members in that building. And they did that for many years, without any complaint or any concerns at all. They did what they had to do to make it work. We had a great neighborhood. We were part of the community. And in fact, when we did leave, they put signs up on their yard and wished us well. Said goodbye to us. We're looking forward to being where we are now. And we're hoping to be part of the community there. We have to, get out there and meet the community, be part of the partnership. So that's one of our goals that we're doing right now. It's a great building. I thank the city. I thank everybody and all the city departments that helped us. So thank you for that. You mentioned Chairperson Violent Crime and Retail Initiative. It's going really well. It's a positive initiative. And great comments by both the business owners, the citizens, the residents, and the police officers. Why we like it so much is when you become a police officer, you want to work with the community, you want to be part of the community, and you want to just work with them and walk the streets with them and talk to them. I can tell you that our general patrol members don't have the ability right now to do that. Last week we reached 400 calls. We because that. So calls come first and everything else comes second. And so if this gives us an opportunity to go there and meet the people, to work with them, also do some targeting of criminals that are repeat offenders and are causing criminal activity in the area. Also giving a chance to do some safety programs with the different businesses and enhance safety in their buildings and businesses as well. But it just gives us a chance to meet people and to help them, to give them a helping hand. And so as much as they feel great about the program, we feel as much that the input we're getting from the business owners. It's good for our members here and be part of it. I thank the province for continuing this until in the fall, and we're looking forward to continue that. Just a little bit of stats for you. 5,624 total engagements that included with business owners, with residents, with people on the street, with the community. That also included business verification, safety verification with the people that do that. 512 arrests and seized almost $30,000 in property. And I would say that most of the arrests were on shoplifters in the stores. Everybody's working, the general patrol officers, community support, crime, and community relations all working together. Like I said, it's a great issue. So we're looking forward to continue this till September. We need to work with the province to see where it goes from there. Part of the Canadian Associations of Chief of Police, they had some meetings and they picked up and they are highly concerned that they have protests almost 100 days with protests and demonstrations on global national issues. They're becoming very high risk and there are unsustainable demand of police services and the demand for police are being pulled away from their duties. Due to staff fees, overtime is increasing because of policing these duties. And it's becoming very high risk, posing a threat to officers on the safety. So we have that on the radar. The CACP has it on the radar, and we may go where I think we're pushing for any resources. I don't know if anybody wants to talk about, there was some issue in the police board in regards to reporting to Maine last week about they're allowed to be here. If you want to talk about demonstrations and protests, and the floor is here. So, like
At the conclusion of your report,
Okay,
and ask those questions.
well, okay, I think the last thing from my report, because we have to move on, is I attended the Sirens for Life kickoff, which is a blood drive, on June 25th. We had a challenge every year with the fire paramedic services to see who beats who, and last year they beat us. But I guess I'll be getting in a car maybe today and getting the trophy back from them because our members beat the fire department and paramedic. So it's good to handily too. So it's good to see that. So it's good that people step in, we can give it like, now, do have to drive, but I didn't think, Alberta. So I think that's my report, and, I'd like it to be motion.
Okay. Any questions by board members? Diane, go ahead.
First meeting, so I don't know
Okay.
what proper protocol is, but I have two questions for you. And whenever we get the information is fine. In terms of the community partnerships for the North District Police Station, I'd like to get a sense of how that was facilitated, what that looked like, and where at the end of the day is the WASAC, who have, I understand, have been displaced or interrupted. And so how are what's our role in supporting that really important resource?
I can speak to that.
Yeah.
Diana, if
So
If you could speak.
do I ask one question and then get the answer, or do
Yeah,
I
no, you can,
ask both and then wait?
just have them respond to this one.
Okay,
and the
all right.
next follow-up.
Okay, so I'm the liaison with WASAC and Executive Director Trevor Laforte. And so we've been working with him and the city to ensure that the WASAC facility remains where it is. And then they will be moved temporarily to another location while they build the new facility, and then they'll move back into the new facility. So we've been working on a partnership and meeting on a regular basis to ensure that their ability to deliver their services are uninterrupted. And Trevor and I have a very close relationship, and Chief Smythe did step in at one point to contribute as well. So we've been working.
Do you have timelines on that?
Yes, they were looking at next year, but they were so later next year, early 2026.
And then the community piece. Talk about more in terms of
Set up,
you're the new
you will, yeah.
people on the block and
Okay, we have the whole event set up. They're not finalized yet, but one is our annual feast that we have, and we're going to have it there. Pretty big, so that they will be, in this other event, so I'll definitely, share that with you, for sure. Really, in a big place for planning for, that part of the market, I think they were, I think, part of it, make sure that they can find if they're required and improve that arena. And we'll continue to be.
so my second question is regarding the theft initiatives and whether there's any analysis given into who is stealing and what they're stealing, to get a sense of where there's an opportunity for community organizations to be part of the solution. So, if we're seeing a lot of people who are stealing food, which would not surprise me, then that creates an opportunity for us to engage with the larger community on just what Jessica was sharing earlier, that being really interconnected with other systems.
And I agree, and we'll get that for you. We're very aware that there's many, different reasons why people may steal, and we support programs and making social services that help people. And it's spoken before, but there is a group, a component of people that are stealing that don't fall under. And so we're trying to target those people that are stealing for their hurts and they make money off it. And so that's what we're trying to focus on. Try to keep with the net potentially. Unfortunately, sometimes we may catch other people, but we're couple of accusations that there are things out there almost ready to I think our mandate or our target is that our product make a lot of money. So that's what it's like. I'll get those guys there.
Yeah, and I think maybe we can talk about this some more.
Sure.
Because I think we do have a responsibility to, if there are people within this that are, and I understand the criminal piece in the police role, but we're collecting the data. And if we have information that there is a certain group of people who are stealing to survive, then we have a responsibility to tell and to build partnerships so that we can, so that's the piece. I don't necessarily need the stats. I just need to know that we are doing something productive with the information. Okay.
It's just more so than organizations that
Thank you.
Colleen and then Mayor Gillingham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I want to just ask some questions in regards to the Real Change, Real Different Action Plan. So I'm going to look to Scott. If you're all right with that, Art.
I mean, we have to hear down here as well, so if we can just speak up, so that all of us can hear down. This
Project my voice.
I love delegating through anything.
Thank you. So we know that you've come through the recommendations. We know that you're on the cusp, if it hasn't already started, of a new survey of the membership, and you're gonna analyze and take all that into consideration and present to us and the board. Can you tell us how long that will take? You know, the survey's out for how long before we, the board, can see some results or some analytics on that?
Sure. So the survey launched on Monday. We have been pleased so far with the uptake and responses that we've gotten so far. We just had a new company come back on today, Friday, so we'll see another bump in our numbers. We're going to continue to campaign for people to respond through the two associations, Senior Officers Association and the WPA, and through the service means as well. Keep encouraging people to complete the survey. We'd like to, as 80% of our sworn members and 60% of our professional staff members completed it last time. We'd like to meet or exceed those numbers this time. So we'll keep pushing the message to complete it. We have a identified deadline date of the 23rd of September to complete the survey. We have a little bit of a buffer for an extra couple of days just to promote more people to complete it. It'll take some time to analyze the data. Obviously, one of the doctors, the psychologist that's involved, she's actually the person that does the deep dive into the data. She will be away for, I believe it's in November. So we sort of have a little bit of pressure to get some of the data in October. So hopefully we'll get some at least preliminary data we'd be able to share at that time. But it would be nice to have the complete data done sometime in November or in October. So I imagine by December we'll be able to produce what the responses have been. And I mean, it's our desire, all of us, to demonstrate that the amount of effort that we put into this initiative, that we've been able to move the needle and make a change in the morale and the culture within our service. So time will tell, but we're hoping to see that things have improved.
So the document itself, if anyone has gone through, which I'm sure you have from front to back, I've gone through it as well. There's a lot of information in there, and it can be a little bit overwhelming to kind of follow through everything that's going on. So from a board perspective, or for myself, I would say, if we can see those results as how they stacked up from the beginning, like something clean and simple for us to kind of compare, not just, we had, 82%, or I'd like some more details in a comparison. I'd also like to see, how do you perceive, or the leadership perceive, that we don't go back to that? How do we not get another survey result in 5-10 years that takes us to that low that we saw in that last report? Because I'm sure all of you don't want to see that again. What I'd like to see is, what's the next steps? What are you going to do? You mentioned here that, some of these, what was the wording, will never truly end. Some of this work will never truly end, and that's nice, but what does that mean? What does that look like? How does that get embedded into the fabric of the service and the membership, so that we don't get back to that? Of course, it's always growing, it's always going to be flexible, there's always going to be learning opportunities and bumps. But what is the service plan to not get back to that initial report?
Right, and I share that as well. I think from my perspective, if the one message that our members take from this entire process is that we're listening. The members that do the work know best how that work should be done. And so I think we've demonstrated that we're open to changing the way we do business based on the feedback we get from the members. So at least they know that they are valued and the work that they do is valued and their suggestions for how to do that work better is valued. So that's the one main message I'd like to get out from this entire process. But I'm really, I'd say, excited, but also a little bit nervous about getting the results of this second survey. I'm hoping it shows that we've been able to improve things. I can speculate on that, but I'm really hoping for the best.
And listening is good, communication is good, that's of course, we all know that. I think for me, I want to see demonstration of that going forward from those recommendations, how that's going to keep being embedded in the plan. And we, of course, will work on that from our end with the new chief when appointed. We will work with you as leadership when that time comes and put that into our strat and make sure our business plan sees some of that in there. But I'm just going to put that out there that that's what I'm going to be looking for. So, thank you.
And one of the commitments, make sure we're doing it, it's in our business. So we have to report that, you know, everything. So it's right in there and it's telling us that every day.
And just before I turn that over to Mayor Gillingham, just to build on what our vice chair has stated, there are internal and external factors that impact. The external factors, as we see in the environmental scan and the environmental report that came forward, it's difficult to control that. I mean, those are the factors that impact policing. But internally, those changes that are being made and improved upon, we're going to be consistent in terms of making sure that members are clear. Again, to the vice chair's comments, communication is a big factor of that. There's an understanding, working very closely and collaboratively with the WPA, with the Senior Officers Association as well, and recognizing that there's a lot of work that can be done internally to keep morale up, to improve morale. External factors, again, we'll work with that, but it does also lead into the internal part of it where, again, officers want to have that input in terms of how they're doing their jobs on the streets where these environmental factors impact policing.
Thank you.
Mayor Gilligan.
Thank you through you, Mr. Chair. My question is on regarding page 9 about the recruit class 171 and recruiting. 4 questions. I'll try to make them quick. What I think is good and positive here about this class is it's not homogeneous. There is a goal that the Winnipeg Police Service reflect the diversity that is our community. I'm just wondering how does the Winnipeg Police Service recruit for diversity in our sworn officers? That's the first question. The second is in our civilian staff. How, what steps are taken that the civilian members are also reflective of kind of the diverse community we have. So I'll start with those 2 questions. Like what steps do you take? What specifically initiatives are underway to make sure that those employed by the Winnipeg Police Service are more, reflective of the diverse community we serve?
On the sworn side and also at cadets, we have the talent acquisition unit, which we report on in the business plan. Those provide mentorship opportunities for those that fit within the EDI categories. It's been very successful in having those that have struggled in the past or those from groups that have struggled in the past to be successful recruits come through. And so you start to see that in the numbers that are here. Of course, we also, as an organization, for the sworn members, we do look to the recruits that have come through to be able to move up into sworn members. So they are a representative group, and so that does definitely help us with our numbers.
Sorry, I think you mean cadets, not the recruits.
Oh, sorry, and
Yeah.
the cadet class.
So
Yeah.
the cadets have been an excellent pool for both regular members and then our CPU people who are civilian, but actually end up getting into our recruit classes as well. We do a number of job fairs as well, targeting, getting into the communities, different communities, so that and I think we're getting a lot of interest from there. I don't know, and just from what I'm seeing generally across the country, I don't think we're having a difficult time getting quality applicants applying, and from all areas of the community. So I think, and we can always improve, and that's for sure our intention, so.
Just really to build on what Gene said there, Winnipeg is a bit of an island as far as recruiting for police officers and civilian staff. I mean, we're the big agency in the middle of the country between Toronto and Calgary. So we've never really had a lot of the issues that many other agencies have with attracting a talent, but retaining it too. You see a lot, especially down in Southern Ontario and the Lower Mainland, where officers will jump from police agency to police agency, but generally the ones that we hired here, they remain here for their whole careers, which is helpful to us.
And thank you. And I recognize you've highlighted some of this before in previous meetings and in reports. I just thought, this recruit class and just this, this diversity that's reflected in the class, I think is something to highlight. And, we want to hear again how you do recruit. I guess the second question, or the third question then how does the Winnipeg Police Service support those members to ensure that they have long, successful careers? Obviously, you try to support every employee, but specifically those that maybe are, for some, it may be kind of being hired as a Winnipeg police officer or being hired to work for the police service. They may be breaking a barrier within their own family, breaking a barrier within their own culture, community. So what I guess mechanisms within the police service do you have to make sure those individuals have successful careers and get the support internally for the work that they do?
So a couple things, just to finish off. The first part, our SROs also play a big part in recruitment as well. Of course, not higher than 15, 14, but putting thought in their mind, saying, hey, police service, and talk about it, and being to the boss. Well, something's changed big time, and I'm not going back to when I first started police, or when anybody started. When you didn't get accepted, they just said, bye bye, good luck next time. What we do now is just say, you know what, you're a good worthy candidate, a feature in our talent unit, and have other people go and meet with them and say, okay, what can we do to make you successful here? So we're identifying the ones that may have not been selected for this class unit, but in the future, we're already looking at 2 classes down already. And so once they're in class, they get assigned class coordinators. They're kind of mentors and their coaches and stuff like that. If they need anything throughout the day or throughout their training, they go down. Of course, the field trainers now become their mentors after that, and the sheriff become their mentors. We have doctors that will go in. If there's any frustration or anything in their community, try to help. Plus, we're communities already, and they're very strong
And a robust peer support network as well. You have a lot of peer support that will help people. I mean, recruiting, hiring, training is very expensive for us. So we do not want to lose our talent. So we do everything we can to retain it, ensure that they're able to become successful within our organization.
We have peer support, like saying that different expertise, different challenges, people make it, 7 days a week,
One question I have, and just the final question is about interpreting the pie that's in front of us here, that pie chart on page 9. I just want to make sure that's I'm interpreting it right, that there's no double count there. Like, for example, the orange Indigenous male, is that, I'll use the word, for lack of a better word, category. People will probably find a better word. I'll use that category. Is that double counted in racialized person, yellow, or no? Are those separate measurements?
Well, there could be more than one employment category, but it's reported in the business plan, reported for Q2 that in this recruit class, there were 22 candidates that came out of the talent acquisition mentorship program. 11 female, 7 Indigenous, and 6 racialized. And then this pie chart, there may be a declaration in more than one category.
Okay, thank you. But yeah, thank you, more clarity in the business plans. Okay, thank you.
And before I turn it over to Kevin for his question, as a follow-up, there are agencies or organizations in Winnipeg, the Downtown Community Safety Partnership, now the community service officers that were deployed this year. Are you in contact with them in terms of future recruitment of some of their resources in terms of human resources? They make great candidates in the sense that they're already out there in the field doing a lot of the human side of the policing work. And again, there's great diversity among those ranks. Have there been conversations with the leaders of those organizations to perhaps create a pathway toward policing?
Sure. Data was so blue already. So, we saw that. So, of course, we're all. They have pockets.
Yeah. Very hands-on experience. Kevin?
Right, thanks. I'd like to ask about the Violent Crime and Retail Theft Initiative. Of course, like, in speaking to other businesses in these areas, the Exchange, Osborne, West End, downtown, the presence of the police has been noticed and appreciated and has made a difference. You know, you spoke about this as the kind of policing that police want to be doing. And we've identified for a long time the priority of the downtown and safety around the downtown. In fact, we have it in the, so I'd like to, I guess, some of the feedback I've been getting from this is how do we make this sustainable? And why is this overtime and not regular hours? So I'd like to review my understanding of how we got here, and then maybe you could speak to how we make this sustainable and move forward. In the strategic plan, like downtown is a high priority. Since I've been on this board, I was told that closing the 4 regional stations, we redeployed those resources to the Foot Patrol. I've asked like how much, like what was the dollar value or the person power that was redeployed from that? But when I go back to 2017, 2018, 2019, those stations were closed in November 2019. I don't see the increase in the Foot Patrol. We do about 8,000 hours. Goes up a little bit, goes down a little bit, right? And so so one question is, where did those resources go that were supposed to go towards the Foot Patrol? And then over a year ago, the previous provincial government announced $10 million for 24 new recruits. So as going through this process, I was able to ascertain that those 8,000 hours of Foot Patrol were being done by 6 full-time equivalents. So priority on the downtown, that probably comes out to about $1 million. So out of a $330 million budget, the only thing we have dedicated to the downtown, is my understanding, is the Foot Patrol about $1 million, so 0.3% of the budget. So the previous government announces the $10 million for 24 more officers, which should bring the complement to 30. Now, we know that those were going to take time to train, right? But a year ago in September, Chief Smythe came here and said that he was going to advance pull resources from other areas to be able to dedicate those 24 FTEs immediately. But looking at those numbers, it never materialized in terms of the actual Foot Patrol hours. So it seems like everybody agrees that we should be doing this. And it's not until the current government then agrees to pay the overtime that now we do see those numbers. We see about the last quarter from June until the end of August, we see about 8,000 hours, which if every quarter was about 10,000, that's still below what the steady state of those additional 24 FTEs should be able to sustain. Like if we're going from 6 to 30, like we should be looking at 10,000 or 40,000 hours of Foot Patrol every year. So about 10,000 every quarter. So we're still not even there, and it's taken extraordinary efforts. So I look at and I know Foot Patrol, violent crime, retail theft, some difference, but this is really about the community safety, about responding to the business, responding to the need in the downtown. So to summarize, like, it's in the strategic plan. The police redeploy resources, or say they will internally, to devote to it. A previous government commits $10 million, and only now finally do we get some movement by paying for the overtime hours. And then we hear, well, it might not be sustainable, and like, let's look at the cost. So like, let's look at this big picture. Like, is that $10 million, 24 FTEs coming on board soon to backfill it? And is that the sustainability plan? And will we see those 40,000 hours per year on the street, community policing?
So, you very well, like some of the answers, right now we're committed to 24, foot patrol officers, individual. For 24, unfortunately, two things have happened. We have a obligation under our contract to fill our cruiser cars. That comes first, they just contract. We got to fill 20 cars. So when there's a large number of retirements, a lack of accommodation, whatever, we have to make another decisions. So we might not be able to staff all of them. And some might not be able to. We did commit, chiefs have been committed to community officers all playing a part downtown and every district official. They panned out for all, I believe, but then other person needs came up through protests and demonstrations and different things that we planned to do. So that's a reality of what's going on there now. But at 12, there are 12 coming, November 3rd. There's 12 coming from their committed 24. The other 12 are in class right now, and it will be around May. Well, that's the other 12. So 12 are coming November 3rd. And so they'll increase it to 30.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack because there's a lot of information woven in there that's not exactly accurate. So I was commander in Division 11 back in 2018 when the Foot Patrol expansion happened. We went from 12 to 24 members. 24 members with the rotating shifts allows us to deploy 6 members at a time, 6 FTEs at a time, days, evenings, 7 days a week. Okay, so while you may only see 6 as the count of Foot Patrol, there's 24 members filling those 6 spots on rotation throughout the 7 days a week schedule. But also to be clear, the violent crime and retail theft initiative has surged Foot Patrol type officers far beyond the boundaries of what is in our downtown safety plan. If you go back, you can see the borders of what we determined to be downtown, to be the shed and a few areas around the shed. So never were they part of this. So part of your frustration in terms of why are you only seeing officers in a particular area now is because they aren't part of the downtown safety strategy where you're talking about. The VCRT zone is not part of the downtown safety strategy. On top of that, there was a commitment to try to increase Foot Patrol presence by having discussions with the previous government, which led to the 24 extra Foot Patrol officers, recognizing that even the 6 at a time were not having the impact in the community that we hoped. And the government funded those extra 24, recognizing it was going to take us years to hire them, to add capacity to our recruit classes. In the meantime, we did commit that given the community needs and the fact that we needed to try to make an impact sooner than later, we couldn't wait 2 years. We agreed to surge community support unit officers, which are our only other proactive officers besides the Foot Patrol officers, down to walk the beat downtown. As you've heard, protests and special events have been outrageously increased day over day, month over month. Last year, you saw that we had a record number of 299 protests to manage. This year, as of yesterday, we are at 415 as of yesterday. It is almost policeable at this point. We are pulling officers every single day. All of our proactive officers, we are having almost no proactive time. For example, there's 5 events tomorrow, 5 events on Sunday. We have no choice, depending on the risk of these things, to employ officers ahead of time to mitigate the risk of these events. So we're in a mode of trying to be everywhere and be all things to all people. And that's why you're seeing proactive officers being pulled to actual tasks and not just having the ability to walk around and engage with the community. That's why he's saying our only ability to do that is to pull people on overtime who we're not already paying on the clock to come in and do that on overtime because they are not a resource that we're already counting on. I hope that answers.
It also, when you pull community officers to do protests and demonstrations, they do a lot of good work stopping calls and going into the queue. So if they're not talking to people or community officers, the calls are going to the queue and there's phone calls. Because nobody is kind of filling them by talking to the residents on the street. As well as, like you said, why the beauty of it's working so well is that's what they do. They don't do calls to service. They're assigned, they walk, talk, and the business owners do community facing type of works with no, of course, if there's something tragedy or they will respond, but they're pretty well up. And you see the benefit when they're left, but what they can do for their areas. Unfortunately, we can't get our GP members to do that because they want to do it, but they choose to can't do it.
Yes, like, if I could just add one more thing. You'll see police services across Canada talking about their budget expenditures in relation to special events, and they're like $4 million in some similar sized police services. We're not managing it by calling people out every day to do the special events. We're managing it with our proactive officers. I don't think it's palatable to the board to come back and ask for an extra $4 million to manage these things. So we're trying to find that balance between not going way over budget and taking anyone who's in the service who's not doing priority response, which we also can't keep up with, and putting them on these events that would absolutely have to have a presence.
I do understand the competitive demands. I guess what I didn't understand, and I still don't, is that disconnect between the intention to do this thing and the inability to move the needle. The only thing that has moved the needle has been paying this overtime, these overtime hours, right? In terms of getting more people there. But what I really care about is how are we making this sustainable? So like, is bringing on these extra 24 with that 10 million as they graduate, is that the sustainability plan? So then it's not about relying on a temporary provincial payment and we don't have that threat of it not being there. And those provincial dollars will be dedicated to that. So they can't be shifted away to other things later on.
That's our plan. You're right. We only restock twice a year with recruits. So unfortunately, a year or two, and that was the issue of stock members. So it's a long process. So that's why we need to go all the way. Sure. The second thing is, yes, we're hoping that by the expansion that you will see a lot more activity in the downtown area and so that. Oh, so we're talking about problems, maybe other issues that we would do together.
Damon, Scott, then Daphne.
Thank you. He's allowed me to jump in the queue because I've got a follow up on the numbers. Just as far as, so I guess give you the opportunity to manage expectations. If in the recruit class, 12 of those right now are being trained for foot patrol, how many of those, that's not 12 per shift. So how many new foot patrol per shift can we expect in the downtown? Just so we have a sense. So there won't be 12 more officers walking around per shift. It'll be a lot number.
More shifts within the foot patrol unit, so we transfer 12 in.
So 3 more. Okay, so 3 per shift. Okay.
But that number doesn't totally make sense because 8,000 hours of foot patrol could be accomplished by 4 FTEs. And so, yes, people are sick, there's different shifts, there's like office time, there's vacation time to cover that, but I don't know how that 8,000 hours was ever being covered by 24 FTEs. Like they would have had to be spending most of their time on other things, not on foot patrol.
The hours that are reported in the business plan are not comparable to the hours that we provided to the board with respect to the violent crime retail theft strategy. So we shared total working hours for all of the members that are involved in the two-pronged approach. The hours that are reported on in the business plan in the downtown safety strategy are the hours that members are out on the street. So if there is an arrest, for instance, and they have to go back to process an arrestee, those hours are not included in there. So what you're seeing in the business plan are that hours on the street, and feel free to add.
No, that's exactly right. If they're in the station on an arrest, we don't count that as time in the community, where the community is seeing our presence. And we're recording the time on the violent crime project as total officer hours. So if you're working a 10-hour shift, it's 10 hours towards the project.
Is there something that can be provided to the board that breaks that down so we get a comprehensive understanding of what is actually out on the street as opposed to administrative work, et cetera, et cetera?
Within the violent crime or within our downtown safety strategy?
Hold on. Well, they're both, go ahead. Go ahead.
Did you mean, you want to further break down within our downtown safety strategy hours or the violent crime hours?
Well, both, so that we have an understanding what has been committed to downtown foot patrols as opposed to the violent retail crime theft initiative.
So I mean, probably easier to do it with our downtown safety hours because we could just add up the total shift hours and the hours that they're not on the street, they're in the station. I'm not sure I would commit for our data analysts to do the level of work. I'm not sure that's even possible on the violent crime project, just given the way that officers are recording their time out in the street. They're not foot patrol hours. They don't record their time the same way. I'm not sure it's possible to get that data.
So if I did the back of the envelope math on that, that means that an officer dedicated to foot patrol is actually only spending about 20% of their time logging foot patrol hours. The 80% of their time is arrests, or is that reasonable?
I don't
Like
think
that low? Like that?
I don't think that's accurate, but I also want to manage expectations. If two officers go out as a Delta Bravo 01, we're not counting it as 8 hours for one and 8 hours as another. It's counted as 8 hours as a unit patrolling.
Gotcha. Okay. That's helpful.
Great. Damon, go ahead.
Yeah, so following the media and trying to stay on top of certain changes in our societies, particularly North America. So under the subject heading of human resources and then issues historically, I guess, phrased under the umbrella of diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is under attack in many parts of North America and even in Canada.
Can you speak up, David?
Yeah. Oh, I'm talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we have the recruit class, and we see some good progress on hiring women and minorities. So in terms of your HR policy, is the service comfortable that your current policies around that, like, so for example, policies around women and sexual harassment, sexual assault, other things, are you comfortable that the process you have for beating those policies is working and that the review is timely? So
the HR part that you're mentioning, I think it's working. I think based on numbers, it is working. It's not tied into expected employees, all this. I think that's a whole different stream. And that stream is pretty concrete and policy and procedure, and so it sees the work because of the policy procedure and how to investigate that, how to lead them in policy. So I think that's working as well. So I of course, you say, but I feel comfortable that both are working.
Yeah, the reason I ask because there's well, historically, again, even in Canada, United States, well, just recently, but this week, there was a report from the American state, where the National Guard serious issues with that day. And you had it with the RCMP in Canada and the Canadian military as well, so.
Well, I just maybe just conclude, when I walk into a recruit class now, it's much different than when I walked into it 20 years ago or 50 years. And, proud of that, and proud of our service and our HR division to do different goals and being used to attract, and represent the whole community. So it's a whole different class now, and it's good to see. I think it's working.
Thank you. You gave the two milestones 20 years ago and 50 years ago?
47.
But I remember that.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions of board members? Daphne, go ahead, please.
Yeah, it's more of a statement than a question really is just around, acknowledging people's charter right to protest. I think it behooves us as a board to begin to really listen to what we're being told. This is a whole new area of policing that's coming up, that's creating a demand that's affecting every other part of policing. And I think it behooves all of us at the service level, at the board level, and at the provincial level to begin to plan on how we're going to respond, because it is affecting policing. It is affecting the community. It is affecting people who are needing police assistance on a regular basis. So I think we too have to make sure that we are working on how do we support this and how do we include it as part of the strategic plan, because this pattern is not changing. It appears to be escalating. And I think we all have to begin to put our heads together and figure out how do we really address this in a proactive way so that we're not reacting, but we are responding. And I think that's a job that we need to do together as we move forward.
And you're seeing it across Canada.
Yeah.
And actually, at the end of the month, a number of us are attending to a meeting in Toronto. It's basically it's an operational meeting to discuss protests. All the large agencies across Canada are going to be part of that to determine any changes to the current practices that police agencies use. So it'll be an interesting and eye-opening meeting we're going to be at.
Yeah, and that is more about how do we as a board begin to plan and support that, because this area of business is not going away. And so how do we go back and support that? And it may need provincial, maybe federal.
Yeah.
These rights are not just for Winnipegans, right? So this is an issue affecting the entire country. So
Is what you're talking about, will it impact the national framework on how protests are managed by police?
It may. That's what the discussions are going to revolve around. As any changes to the national framework, it's going to be part of what we discuss.
Mayor Gilligan?
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate the question by my colleague, board colleague here, Daphne. One, you probably don't have this number today and that's fine, but at some point, maybe can you email us or next time, give us the breakdown as far as how much of these are protests, planned or spontaneous, and then how many are parades? Because right now it's the police that also is the, kind of parades, and I think that's more of a bylaw thing right now. So if you could just give us that breakdown, that'd be helpful.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We get our backup, always, at the last Portage Main, like, we don't care, we weren't there and stuff. We take each one seriously. Our main goal is for protection and safety for everybody. Our teams were unbelievable around the clock, to make it work.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments with respect to
I'll move adoption of the report.
all those, do you have a seconder? Daphne, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed, carried.
Weren't we supposed to hear about Portage Main when
Yes.
the report was complete? Is that next, or was that before is that included in the report?
Yeah, we can discuss that.
Before we
now.
motion it.
Chief
thank you.
Standard,
I
you
forgot
want
about
to
that.
speak on that? Or-
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
What's the question exactly?
Portage and Main protest that occurred last week.
Yes. I understand what happened there.
Correct.
Okay, so without, I'll say, getting
And if
into-
you could speak up.
Sure, yeah, without getting into specific tactics, I can tell you that police tactics when we manage crowd events are focused on de-escalation and not inciting the crowd to do something more than they need to do based on the issue at hand. Now, that particular protest had some anti-police sentiment to it. And we have in very recent history had some dynamic incidents between protesters and police where there's an anti-police sentiment. So where possible, we will deploy at a distance so that we are not face to face with a crowd where we are the focus of the issue. On top of that, on that particular day, protest organizers made it extremely clear to our police liaison teams, they want to see no police, they want to see no police uniforms anywhere. When that happens in the downtown, and we have to try to protect the crowd by blocking streets out of sight, that forces us to be a block or two back in certain instances. And vehicle traffic, just like water, will try to find a way through. And they see a blockage, they're going to try to find a back lane. Like it makes it a difficult task in the downtown. But what we've found and what we saw that day was most vehicles, when they found their way through the barricades and saw that they were face to face with a blockage, they would take an immediate right turn and not engage the crowd. And several cars made it through in the period of time leading up to that conflict, and they all made the right decision of just making a right-hand turn, and the crowd did not engage. We had one person that decided not to make that decision and raced at the crowd at an unsafe speed, and the crowd reacted. So that's how that played out, and it's still under investigation by our Major Crimes Unit.
Just, so what's our next step in terms of doing a debrief and what coulda, woulda, shoulda? What can we do differently next time? Do we engage with the community to kind of, what's just like, I can appreciate the report, and then so what are we gonna do about it?
So after every single incident, we create something called an after action review. Officers review the actions that were taken, the actions of the crowd, lessons learned, and we try to incorporate that into future events. We had debriefs with the organizers of that crowd to give them some perspective, because some folks in the crowd didn't know why police weren't around. They didn't understand that the main organizers had asked us to be out of sight, out of mind. And so part of that is we have a community that's not also homogeneous, right? They all have their different views of what we should or shouldn't be doing. So we're trying to manage all that together. On top of that, we literally had hours notice for that. We pulled over 80 officers from their regular duties that day, and our special events team, having experience building hundreds of operation orders, got that plan out the door in hours, which is an absolute amazing task and testament to their professionalism. So that was a very, very difficult circumstance to manage, given the time frame, given the lead, given what we knew, given what we were told by the crowd. So yeah, but we always try to learn lessons.
So,
But is there a little bit more to that you could, that you're in a position to share?
Not at this point. I don't have the review. Yeah.
so from a 30,000-foot view, when an organization says we don't want to see a presence of police, how much pushback can there be in terms of, well, we're here for the public order or for the public safety of all individuals? And how much pushback can there be? Is it a negotiation in terms of making sure that despite the request for non-presence, there still has to be some presence in the interest of public safety?
Every event is unique in that we have to assess the influence of the organizers on the crowd or their ability to sway. So if the organizers ask us to be present, but the crowd certainly doesn't want us to, what's their influence on that crowd should things turn, right? So every single event is very unique, depending on who's there, who the organizers are, their status within the crowd. I mean, I'll draw your attention back a couple of years. One of our largest deployments ever, which you probably never saw, was the Black Lives Matter March. We had hundreds of officers in the downtown out of sight, because if something had gone bad in that crowd, our responsibility would have been to go in and deal with it. And that crowd clearly made it crystal clear. They did not want to see police. They did not want police participating. And we try to respect that because we didn't want to escalate it.
Kevin?
Understanding how difficult these situations are, at the end of the day, it is the call of the Winnipeg Police Service about how you police these. And it is not like the organizers of any kind of protest do not actually direct police operations, do they?
They don't, but I'll just say that crowd control policing is a very complex and dangerous task. And we don't have enough officers to get into a use of force incident with hundreds of people or even 50 people. So we have to do what we have to do to keep things safe and keep the temperature down so that we can actually manage these things.
Yeah, well, I think most of us appreciate the issues here. Some of them are historic. And particularly when it comes to the police relationship with certain groups in our society. In this case, it's Indigenous Black people of color. You know, we've struggled so hard to try to improve relationships, to create avenues to issues that arise on these kind of events. And I mean, just looking at that one, the fellow was standing on the hood of that car. I mean, there was ample opportunity there for something much more serious to happen, right? I mean, seriously hurt and killed, right? So, going forward, I think as a city with the highest, fastest growing population of Indigenous persons in the country, just my personal opinion that we need to do more. We need to bring us together more effectively, community, governments, and important institutions like police to try and find some better solutions to take more effective actions to slowly and steadily reduce the tensions that exist. I mean, this last week we had a couple of Indigenous persons shot by police in the country and died. And it doesn't matter where it happens, it affects all of us. When I read that, didn't sort of, taken aback by it. We know that police can be put in very difficult circumstances. And so they end up having to shoot somebody, and somebody dies. But for our community, because of that historic tension with police, it affects the reactions of individuals in situations with police, and then it escalates. So, there's a lot of psychology, et cetera, around these kinds of things. I think we're getting more evidence-based research all the time, and perhaps the three governments work together with Indigenous leadership. We can slowly get that in place. I think.
I don't believe, but I just want to say one statement you made. We're in charge of operations. To be clear, we're in charge of planning and operating, but we also take feedback from the community, as well as looking at the best trend across Canada. How we can protest registration safely. One thing I'm very proud of is we have liaison officers that go out before protests and before demonstrations and meet with them. It's very lay out a groundwork on what's going to happen that day, and there's give and take. It has to be give and take. If there's not, it's going to happen right away. So there's give and take and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if we're definitely are in charge of operations. We can make it work, and our goal is peaceful and by all.
I'd just like to do some follow-up after at the board level, and then when we're maybe after your session in Toronto, that we look at, we discuss it as a board with you to do some problem solving so we can figure out a win-win for everyone.
Thank you for that, Diane. I mean, certainly as Superintendent Dalal had indicated, there is an after action report. I know that previously around the protest that took place at the Manitoba Legislature during COVID, we did debrief on that and some of the highlights in terms of how those protests took place and how they were resolved. There was a lot of concern with noise, a lot of concern with access to downtown businesses and residences. So we did get a robust report from the service, and I would expect that in terms of this, the process that took place last week Friday as well. So again, thank you for this update, and we'll now move on to the Secretary of the Board's report.
Sorry, thank you. My report really focuses on the recruitment of the new police chief. Most of the activities that I was engaged with in this reporting period had to do with that, as well as the Canadian Association of Police Governance. I was able to attend a conference in Halifax. And the subject this year was Where Governance Meets Public Safety, Transforming Policing in Canada. So we heard quite a bit about what other services with other legislative regimes were doing and having some success with. That's always a really good event. If we're hearing what is the most current research and what are the best practices in terms of governance. Other than that, I went everywhere the chair went. And I will say that this has been a really good experience hearing from the public on the qualities and characteristics that they would like to see in a chief that would establish leadership in our city, that is communicative, collaborative, and I really appreciated the people that attended at each of those events and that provided their feedback. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Shauna.
Yeah.
Can I have somebody move acceptance of this report? Damon, thank you. Seconder, Diane, all those in favor? Opposed, carried. We have the report of the Chief of Police Recruitment Committee. I'm going to turn it over to the Vice Chair, if you don't mind, just to report on that. Item 4, and I'll turn the chair over to you as I'm going for a bio break.
Okay. We are looking at this information to receive it as information, of course. What I will tell you is that we met several times as a committee, firstly on December 8th of 2023. And we have had a mandate to assist the board on the recruitment process. The board has taken this wholeheartedly, very seriously, and has really looked at our terms of reference. We've looked at the proposal process, which we have had selected MNP to assist with that search, and we've gone through every step of that thus far. MNP has supported us in developing with the advertising, the national recruitment of candidates, has accepted the applications and conducted the initial screening of those applicants, and will be assisting us in interviews and reference checks as we go through that final steps of the process. The committee co-hosted 2 town halls, one on June 18th and one on June 20th, to gather input from position profiles of the next chief. And as you heard from the secretary, we did gain some valuable insight. We came with our own perspectives, of course, of what we wanted to see, but it is always good to do that, have those discussions with the community. So then we met again on July 4th and July 30th to review the processes and to finalize the job profile and continue on with our process. On August 8th, of course, the job advertisement was published on the MNP website and on our police board website with a closing date of September 6th. So as we are past that now, we are well into that process. MNP has provided us continuously weekly reports on the recruitment process. We remain on topic or on target, sorry. And we are just going into, as of next week, reviewing the long and short list of the candidates that will be reviewed, and we'll be having further discussions at that point. Are there any questions to that?
Thank you for clarifying that we remain on target, not on topic, because sometimes we have.
We try to stay on topic of that.
But just to confirm that publicly, I guess that the closing date was not extended beyond September 6th.
No,
So it is
it
closed.
was not, correct.
Thank you.
Okay, can I get
I'll move.
Mayor Gillingham moves? All those in favor? Carried. Damon would like to second that. All those in favor? Carried. Mr. Chair, back over to you.
And we'll go into report 5, the Winnipeg Police Service 2023 statement of revenue and expenses.
And that's simply to be attached to our annual report.
Sorry?
This one here is to be attached to our annual report.
Okay. So is this service responded on that?
No, this is ours. What it is this is the audited financial statements that are attached to the board's annual reports
Right,
for
okay.
submission to the Manitoba Police Commission.
So this is the independent report that's done annually every year to confirm their statement of revenues and expenses.
And so we need to approve it so that it can be submitted to council for information through SBC Community Services.
Given that it's the year end for 2023, I'll move it unless there's any questions or if there's any questions, I'll move the report.
Seconder? Kevin? All those in favor? Opposed, carried. Item 6, the 2024 second quarter business report. Winnipeg Police Service.
One of the things they did last time I was back in Chile was, it's a document filled with great work being done on all the different business planning initiatives. But I try to highlight 2 of them for me, and I have the great privilege to highlight 2 that I think that you should know about.
We're doing Gang Life is No Life first? Okay. Okay, so this is an initiative that's a partnership with Manitoba Association of Chiefs of Police. Their organized crime committee, and Inspector Elton Hall is the chair of that. So he'll be actually presenting his report on that. Manitoba Justice and partnering with the Link Youth and Family Support. So it's a series of videos that was released in 2023. It's meant to break down the myths of gang life, including drugs, sexual exploitation, and gun violence. And it's targeted at youth between the ages of 13 and 16. This campaign actually garnered international recognition and was International Association of Business Communicators Gold Quill Award of Merit. It won that award, as well on the North American front. It received recognition with a Social Marketing Association of North America gold medal. So it's been well received right around the world. So with that, I'll bring up Inspector Elton Hall to do his presentation.
Hey, good morning to the police board, Mr. Chair and Mr. Mayor. So most of my career has been in gangs, guns, drugs, and homicides, kind of an ominous career, but as of last week, I'm actually in North District now, so you and I should probably get to know each other very soon. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a nice change. The feast is going to be October the 11th. The community meet will be October 11th, and I believe our opening is October 2nd. So in saying that, I'll get into this campaign. So in 2021, I was asked to stand up an organized crime committee for the province of Manitoba. And what that was really and essentially was to educate both law enforcement in this area and general public in the community. And so one of our priorities obviously was to address awareness and education through advocacy. And so we really looked at what is a major problem, what's their major issue. It's really connecting with young people who are in vulnerable situations. So after consulting and meeting for over a year with law enforcement agencies in Manitoba and advertising agencies, the Organized Crime Committee partnered with the Link Youth and Family Support and Argyle Communications to set forward a plan to bridge the gap with at-risk youth between the ages of 13 and 17. In 2023, a cutting-edge gang prevention campaign was launched that included 3 short, gritty videos aimed at breaking down the myths of gang life, including drugs, sexual exploitation, and gun violence. We used a video game look and feel to reach viewers
providing a phone number at the end, encouraging viewers to send a text message to the link, who provided around-the-clock responses to youth looking for assistance or help. This campaign launched for 6 weeks, starting in August of 2023, ending in September. We did a second run of the campaign immediately after, at the beginning of the school year in September, for 6 weeks, ending in October. These videos are short. They're multi-seconds in length and have a feel of a video game look. So the Grand Theft Auto was the look we were going for. These videos are meant to instantly attract young people, attract their attention, and they are edgy. Research shows that you have on average 2 to 3 seconds to hold an individual's attention on an electronic device. We wanted to capitalize on this. So we have a total of 6 videos, 3 for the first, 3 for the second. This is the ending of the second, and that's for the sexual exploitation aspect.
Next time, keep your mouth shut. You just do what he says. Go get cleaned up.
So there's 2 phases of round 1. It was 12 weeks in length, and I'll get into that at the end if you want to discuss it. But I want to talk about the results we had. So on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, and YouTube were the social media platforms we focused on. We had 11.68 million impressions in Manitoba alone, within our borders, leading to over 45,000 clicks to the Gang Life is No Life landing page hosted by The Link. This resulted in 150 individuals wanting to connect with resources to resist or exit gang involvement or look for immediate off-ramps to current situations, in particular, young, vulnerable females who may be looking for help and don't know where to go. This program, although it's funded by the police, was organized by the Winnipeg Police and our partnering agencies in Manitoba, including the RCMP, has nothing to do at the end with police. We funded it. We came up with this idea. We worked with Argyle. We presented it to The Link. They own it. We do all the background work. This is totally discreet and intimate for young people to call. We will never, ever drill down and look for information on who's calling, why they're calling, etc. But we were advised there's 150 individuals looking to connect, or as we call them, referrals out of the situation they're in. To give you perspective, at the top of the chart you see right now, we have 2 gang prevention and exit coordinators with the Winnipeg Police Service. They do the traditional work where they sit down and work with students or people in the community. They're looking between 15 and 20 referrals out of the situation they're in, which is generally gang life, over a 9 to 12 month period. We can reach between 2,700 and 3,000 students doing this. Obviously, this campaign, we reached, softly reached or indirectly reached almost 12 million people in Manitoba alone. And we had 150 referrals compared to the 20 we get traditionally. So in my opinion, this was a total success. So given the success of our first campaign, the Organized Crime Committee, the Link Youth and Family Support Center agreed to run a second campaign. Both these campaigns were funded by the MACP. We wanted to measure 2 things before we did the second campaign. Did the media release? We had a media splash at the first campaign to say we were doing this. We didn't know if that was going to deter people from calling or if it was going to help. So we wanted to do this organically the second time. We didn't advertise any sort of a campaign the second time we did this. And we wanted to see if there's a difference between doing it in the summer when kids weren't in school, or if it benefited us doing while children or youth were in school. So the plan for the second campaign was to provide an outcome to the first 3 videos. So we had 3 short videos, which we can observe at the end of my presentation. So what we did is we finished these videos now. We had this is what happens when you enter these situations, whether it's drug dealing, sexual exploitation, or gang life. And here's the outcome of what could happen if you're participating in these. And really, it's just to get the individual's attention so we can provide them the phone number for the link so they can text or call no matter what situation they're in. Argyle Communications and the Organized Crime Committee agreed to the following output. So for the second campaign, We wanted to focus on TikTok and Snapchat. Our research showed that that's what most individuals between 13 and 17 use. We discussed using Twitch. We just weren't comfortable with it yet, so we didn't use that. We wanted, in a 6-week period, we wanted to have 3 million impressions to personal devices in Manitoba in that 6-week period. YouTube, we asked for 900,000 impressions for people under the age of 18, targeting gaming and teen content, hoping to get some feedback. In-game ads. So if you here at the table play Candy Crush on your phone, you'll get ads that come up all the time. Well, we focused on these games and these apps that people in this age division will use. And we were flushing out our gang prevention through those. So whether it's at the beginning of the game or whether they go to the next level, we would hit them with an ad. Facebook is a little different. They don't allow for quote unquote targeting younger people than 18. We made a case, us, but really Argyle Communications, that we were trying to reach people in remote communities in Manitoba. They use Facebook for the most part. So we were able to bypass some of that legislation and actually send some of our ads through Facebook. We wanted to get 625,000 impressions through Facebook to northern communities. As a service and as the Organized Crime Committee, representing all the agencies in Manitoba, we wanted 5.5 million impressions in a six-week period for the second campaign in Manitoba. So as you can see, I don't have all the stats yet. They're still mining the numbers, but what I can tell you, and this just ended a week and a half ago, this campaign, we have over 500,000 views of the videos from start to finish in Manitoba. 51 right now, and I've been told it's probably going to climb closer to 60 or 65 people. I've asked for referrals or connections with resources, and almost 25,000 views on the website. These numbers are incredible. So there's lots to talk about. I'm trying to do this as quick as I can. I'll just do in closing. This helps Manitoba police agencies supplement connecting with youth in a way that we'd actually, police uniform, don't have to go out and say we're police officers. Like you can do this on your own time. If you're in a tough position, if you're being exploited, if you're in front of your parents, if you're at school, you can get onto this program and use it on your own device whenever you want. 2 in the morning, 6 in the morning, 4, whatever it is. When I talk about targeting, we target 2 demographics: the age, 13 to 17, and times of the day. We research times of the day. Early morning hours before school seem to be popular. Right after school and between the hours of about midnight, 4 in the morning, we're very busy. So we targeted those times and the ages for all of Manitoba. 20 referrals, as I said. The traditional way has been supplemented with over 200 new referrals while we're doing our gang work here. So getting an extra 200 referrals, getting youth out of the situations they're in, whether it's gangs or sexual exploitation or gun violence or gun trafficking, whatever it is in my opinion, a very large number and a very good success. I do believe this takes some stress off of first responders and police resources if you're worried about the funding part of it. But more importantly, it helps the link, and it helps individuals organically do this on their own time. I will finish off with one note here. We wanted to test this program. And we went to Chicago in August, myself and my gang exit coordinator. We went down to Chicago. Chicago has the worst gang club in North America, that International Gang Conference. I can tell you, we are leading the way in North America right now with this program. Nobody's doing this. Every time a presenter came up, it was actually getting embarrassing when they were coming up. They started referencing Winnipeg, and Michelle or Garni, the 2 officers I brought, they actually started going up and talking about the program we have. In Chicago, for example, they were really emphasizing trying to get like McDonald's or Burger King 2-for-1 deals and going out and talking to people on the street, trying to interact like that. And we're like, well, this is what we're doing here. Like, this makes more sense. So they've asked us to come and present next year, but we wanted to test it. And I could say confidently in front of everyone in this room that this program is leading the way in North America. The only one that really competes is CFSEU in BC, and they're more of a motorcycle gang focus with their reports, etc. This is really focused on youth and street level issues that the youth are facing. That is it in a nutshell. There's lots to talk about, but I will take any questions.
Thank you for that presentation, Inspector Hall. It's great to hear that Winnipeg is pioneering and leading in this technology in terms of disseminating information and really providing opportunities for kids to self-direct their future in terms of away from gang life. So great to hear that you're presenting it to other jurisdictions as well, and hopefully it'll catch on. There are questions from board members. Go ahead, Diane, please.
Is there a reason why Indigenous organizations are not part of this
They are.
project?
They are, we actually,
Because you'd only refer to the link and that's a non-Indigenous organization.
yeah, we consulted a lot of Indigenous organizations. I left it to Michelle and Garni to tell us which ones we should consult with, and we did. We wanted one landing point, which was a link. We felt that they were, well, one, they wanted to come up and help, and they had the resources to help at the time when we did it. We also felt that they would have, Blackbird they could expand quickly. They could, so if it's going to the link, it just doesn't go there. They'll reach out to other organizations. It's individuals looking for housing. It's individuals being exploited. We can't deal with it. We have to go to another organization. We did consult with Indigenous organizations. They're a part of this. They sat down at the table with us when we were organizing it. We actually ran the sexual exploitation video through a couple of the organizations because of female, although it's supposed to be a non-binary and really not racial, had a book of possibly Indigenous. We wanted to make sure we were okay in doing this. So we did, like I said, we spent a year really researching and talking to organizations across the city. We made a point of including Indigenous organizations for sure. Definitely did really well.
So just, I would like to learn more, but we don't have to do that today, and here I can do that.
We can definitely meet
after-
and we can sit down and I can go through everything.
Yeah, because I'd also like to understand the role of Grand Theft Auto in all of this.
It's
And
just to attract attention from.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
you know, it's promotes violence against women, so how much do we, anyways, we'll
Well, it's just,
talk about
it's the
that.
imagery is all it is. It's not,
Same thing.
It's not Grand Theft Auto, just for clarification. The videos that are take the look and feel of that, not, it has no association with Grand Theft Auto. If you're, so you saw one of the videos from the 2023 campaign. If you want to see the 2024 videos, there.
Yeah, and I can do that after. I don't want to take up too much of the
Sure.
we have, the reason why we picked something like that, one, because it's popular, and two, we have 2 or 3 seconds to really grab somebody's attention, so we really want to make sure. So if you go to the link website, these are our videos. I'll go to this one here. So I said they're edgy, but they're to get individuals' attention. So this is about gun violence. So this is part 1 during the first campaign.
Hey, you said you got my back, right? Let's go. I got some business.
So there's not much there. It just really, it attracts the individual's attention. It's a short video, gives you the number. And then you can, if they decide they want to continue watching, there's a part 2 and it links to it, and this is what it is.
Get up, man. We gotta go. Hell with this. I'm out of here. Wait.
And so just for a background, when we did the first 6 weeks, Grand Theft Auto, the individuals who produced that in California actually found out we were doing it. They praised us for what we were doing. They liked it, but they said you have to change some of the imagery. It's a little too close. And so we did that. So, yeah, that's it in a nutshell. They're very quick videos just to get their attention and to get them to call the link right away. But I'm more, we should sit down. You should be able to- Absolutely. Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Appreciate that.
Thanks. Something I've appreciated this last year is how the police have identified different issues, like the scope of youth crime and like the number of people in different areas. So just 2 questions. One is like, how many individuals do you think are involved with gangs in Winnipeg? And then the second question is, what was the total spend on the campaign?
Okay, so the first question, it's very difficult to give an actual number, it's very fluid. Kids are in and out of gangs. They change gangs quite a bit. I'm I'm just talking from experience. I'm gonna say probably well over 2,500, maybe 2,000 kids. But it could be fluid. It could be in a gang for a year and, it just depends. It really does depend. Some kids will identify as gang members, not really be a part of a gang. There's others that are hardcore gang members who will not identify as a gang member. Part two of the funding did not come from Winnipeg Police. It came from MACP. The first campaign was $150,000 and Manitoba Association Chiefs of Police. So that was for the first 3 videos you see, plus a lot of research. So we had incredible success. They gave us a second round of $150,000 to use. We didn't use the entire, we're probably around $100,000. And that also includes the research. So where we wanted to get the impressions across Manitoba. I think the campaign itself was far less than that. So yeah, that's the funding. And I'll say one more thing in addition to that. I think this supplements, quite honestly, if you look at a gang prevention unit where you have 6, 8, 10 officers like you do in the States, this can supplement the work of quite a few officers. Like you're getting the referrals. That's what you're trying to get referrals, get people into programs, get them on the path to trying to, help themselves or get themselves out of really tight situations. So.
The funding was actually provided by the Manitoba government. It wasn't MACP. We don't really have any money.
Came through them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Simply say, just express appreciation for the initiative, for working with partner agencies. We're gonna look forward to hearing more about the details of it. But the fact that, as a service, you're trying to target young people in such a way and give them an opportunity to get out, to exit in a way that, it's not an officer, in a uniform coming and trying to talk to them. You're just trying to find a way to, in the complexity that is the world of youth, to try to reach them. And so I want to appreciate the initiative and the effort being made. Thank you.
If I could just add to that as well, in the sense of putting up a previous add-on, in the world of immigration, are you also targeting settlement agencies? I know that a lot of youth that come over as newcomers can feel disenfranchised, and gang attraction is something that is popular for them. Are you working with settlement agencies and with newcomer agencies to ensure that newcomer kids are not caught up in gangs?
I know from the policing side of it, from my side of it, we didn't use newcomer agencies, but Argyle Communications did reach out to multiple agencies in the city, so they may have. If you're not familiar with Argyle, they're North America, they're worldwide, but really popular in North America for advertising. And I'm pretty sure that they did their due diligence in this. So I don't have an answer, but I can get it for you. And if we do a round 3 of this, obviously we would include that.
And then to the potentially, and there is technology available where videos like this or presentations like this can be done in multiple different languages, very cost effectively as well.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions, board members? Seeing none, thank you for your presentation this morning. We're going to continue.
Want me to try it? Yeah, I don't know if you do. There we go. Thank you.
So we're just gonna move into our connected officer program, our mobile device that we're incorporating into the service. 2018, 2019 started looking at ways we can leverage technology and bring some efficiencies to our members, especially our front lines, to help with getting some of the reporting done, notes, these types of things. So and more efficiency and bringing evidence quicker to the justice system, and helping the victims express what's happened to them. So we started this project, and Patrol Sergeant Richie Miller is going to give us a quick presentation on kind of what it's doing now, and then we can take some questions if there's questions. So Richie.
Good morning. Thank you. By embracing these new technologies, we're equipping our members with the right tools at the right times, allowing them to be more effective and enhance the quality of reporting. our investment in technology creates efficiencies for the service, Manitoba Justice, and most importantly.
Could speak up a little bit, please.
And most importantly, better serves our community. The Connected Officer Program was successfully piloted in 2021. We went through a procurement process in 2022 where we selected a vendor. And then we proceeded to our soft launch in our downtown division in October of 2023. And we completed that launch by May of 2024 with 150 officers deployed with these devices. We're currently moving towards a full deployment of all of our General Patrol members by the second quarter of 2025. And this was done through funding provided by the province. We've partnered with our vendor Smart Squad, who brings us a mobile application, and this technology empowers frontline officers, enhancing the service delivery and effectiveness. Officers equipped with service-issued smartphones have mobile access to policing applications, databases, and allows them to remotely view reports, search records, conduct police checks, and see identification photos. This real-time access allows them to be more efficient. The ability to access real-time information aligns with the service's smart policing initiative, providing officers with the right information at the right time aids with crime prevention and promotes community safety. It also reduces administrative time, keeping members where they need to be on the street. Connected officers capture digital evidence, photographs directly into their smartphone through the Smart Squad application. This means that evidence is immediately available to our investigators. The quality of our police reports is enhanced and members are more efficient. Additionally, connected officers can obtain audio statements directly from victims and witnesses. Simply stated, this makes sense. The old way of handwriting a statement, clearly we can't keep up with the pace that a victim or witness may provide. Audio statements are a pure version of what happened to that person. We can hear the emotion and the impact that this has had on them. Audio statements positively impact the quality of evidence available for prosecutions and supports victims of crime. On the left, you see a traditional pen to paper statement. Annually, officers prepare in the range of 8,000 written statements, with each averaging 30 minutes or more to complete. By comparison, the average audio statement takes 5 minutes or less and greatly increases the product and the usability for both investigations and court. Note-taking is a vital part of policing. Digital notes allow captured evidence, photographs, and audio statements to be embedded directly within the notes. Connected officers can type or dictate, scan driver's license or identification cards, and use quick inserts to populate common police note-taking requirements and language. This creates a more comprehensive note, allowing officers to find efficiencies and increase the quality of their note-taking. In fact, digital notes, when done well, are so clear and concise that officers can reduce the requirement of completing a narrative report. Traditionally, officers write narrative reports to summarize their involvement in incidents. On average, these reports can take an hour to complete. This number is astonishing. Yearly, frontline officers complete in the range of 58,000 frontline narratives. We believe the Connected Officer program and digital note-taking can reduce our narrative writing by 25%. This efficiency will ensure our members are more available to attend calls for service, conduct proactive policing, and engage with the citizens that we serve. Connected officer can quickly access information from our records management system about locations related to cautions and wanted persons. This real-time information enhances officer safety and promotes proactive policing. By equipping all frontline officers with service-issued smartphones, connected officers have access to important information like service policy, training, and member wellness. The Connected Officer Program is an example of the service's commitment to leveraging technology and will modernize our policing in our community. Connected officers are more available on the front lines and provide a superior quality of service. Open it for questions.
So these devices are departmental issued. They're not part of say somebody's personal phone that the different apps are added to, or?
These are service issued phones managed by the service and secured through mobile device management systems.
Are they connected at all to the in-car computing system?
They are slightly connected to it in that when officers respond and arrive on scene, some of that information goes into our records management system, which they can then access from their mobile device.
Can you talk a little bit about the data storage? So once it all filters through, and then what does that look like? Where are we at? Are we in our capacity to, because this is much more heavier in context because the videos and what are we looking at from a digital storage perspective?
So we're working on another project, DEMS. We're working with Axon right now and the provinces involved, where everything goes in the cloud. Currently, the way this works though, it goes into our current niche system and integrates with niche. Once we get a DEMS product, then we have the ability to put a lot of that information, a lot of that digital data into the cloud. There'll be huge savings as far as having to have hardware, terabytes of data, those types of things. So this is the beginning of us getting into the digital world moving forward. So this is a game changer for policing. It really is.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, it's almost, I guess, what happens under like the iceberg, like all that data stored,
Yeah.
all of that has to be somewhere and secure. And are we working on, and you said, yes, we are
Yeah.
working.
Yeah, the infrastructure currently.
And before I go to Mayor Gillingham and Daphne, Diane, so we're also moving into Next Gen 911. So if information is reported through Next Gen 911, will it be connected to, so as an officer arrives on scene, all of that information is integrated, they know what they're dealing with, maybe it's video, maybe it's photos, et cetera, correct?
Yeah, it'll all be sort of one pipe going into our systems. Yeah, all integration is huge.
Good. Mayor Gillingham, Daphne, Diane.
I appreciate, using new technology, or like, not even new technology, we're using technology to better, enhance further the service and reduce the amount of time officers need to do the work, increase accuracy, that's all good. What's being done to, I guess, protect identity? Someone drops a phone gets stolen, someone loses the phone, how does, the stranger doesn't go, oh, we have a caseload of someone. So let's just talk about the protections there, and then also, there's hackers that go in, right? There's the online pirates, like what's being done to protect information?
We have a very robust system, starting with multi-factor authentication simply to use the device. The devices are managed through a mobile device management system, which is overseen by our internal IT department. We connect through our virtual private network, and we conduct audits within our system to ensure that we have our security standards measured.
We have legal obligations through CPIC to make sure that we meet the security requirements of the national system. So we have to meet those things. We have to go through a process, which we did with the RCMP, to ensure that we have all those safety pieces in place, which we met.
Okay, Daphne and then Diane.
So, do you have some kind of plan in place to educate the public when they're seeing a police officer on the street?
Excellent.
Looking at their phone, they're gonna be like, hey, that dude is not paying attention to the scene, he's actually looking on his phone. So I'm just wondering about your plan for that.
So, excellent question. That was going to be my closing point, so I'll just jump in now. We are commencing a social media barrage or campaign that's going to start, right after this meeting. We wanted to introduce it here. We want to and this is the reason why we're introducing it. We want the public to know that they're not playing Candy Crush, that they're actually doing police functions on that phone. So basically everything they have in the office and they have in the car, for almost everything, they'll have on the phone. So it's just the access to that information. People walking we're talking about foot patrol, walking the beat, they're gonna have far more access. There's all types of other things about officer safety and those types of things. So definitely that's, we want to get that message out that we're using this as a work product. It's another tool in the tool belt. And so, yeah, the public, they're not playing games, they're doing work. So
So the second part of that is that I've also seen the implementation of cell phone usage in another service. And while that service is being implemented, it's impacting that service to some degree. So do you have protocols on when, how to use these devices? For
Yeah.
example, when they are using these phones on delivering, say, home care, they are to tick everything off that they're doing, but it's a balance of making sure they're spending enough time providing the service in addition to the thing that they have in their hand and doing some of that in an appropriate time. So do you have clear policies and procedures around when to use it, how to use it, and why to use it?
100%. And as far as policy goes, we have already policy for reporting and note taking and training in all those areas. This is going to help them do it faster and more accurate. So we already have like our SOPs in play. We train the members on, Richie's group trains the members on how to use these phones. We have all our policy regarding privacy, the use of our internal mechanisms, our computers, that's all the same. You can only use it for police work. You can't be using it to check your friends, your neighbors, and those things. And those policies are already within our service.
Go ahead.
Okay, I have three things, and just to build on what Daphne was saying, you know, technology is great and I'm all for, you know, fast ways to get to the finish line. And, you know, I thought, you know, all of the systems it just helps me work more and be disconnected from people. And so I just want to put a caution out that while we're all about efficiency, let's be careful on balancing that with still being with people and answering their questions and supporting them.
I think that's a great point. This tool does give our officers that, just like note taking when I'm writing in my notes, I'll just be duplicating that in my phone. And the audio statements are really key to this. Taking an audio or a written statement is very difficult from someone to keep up with them, to try to capture all of their words, to give us a tool so that you can tell me your story with your emotion. And then I can support you and ask the questions I need to ask. That's key.
Yeah, so I just want to throw that out as a caution that we don't, we still are taking the time with people.
Well, part of this efficiency here is you don't have to go into the office to write us up. They're an hour, some of them take 3 hours. If you can use your notes, that means the officers can be out on the street, getting into some of these things. We know we want to be in the community more. We want our officers on the road, in the community, not in the office typing mounds of paperwork. This was the idea. This was to give them that ability so that they don't have to be in the office typing.
And then my next two questions are about whether the app has two pieces to it. One is there a way for an officer to know if they're in the moment, a referral system to a community organization? That's one. The second, is there a education piece to it that will remind officers on protocols for engaging with certain people? So for example, an Indigenous person, you're not going to go and grab their feather. That's the wrong thing to do. Just some protocol. So is there an education piece to the app at this time?
There is, in that it connects to our internal website, which hosts all of our training and policies and standards. And it gives officers the ability to access that whenever they want remotely. But that is a great point you bring up, and something that we certainly will integrate into our future training. Yeah, thank you.
Kevin?
This is really encouraging, enormous potential to provide better quality service and efficiency. Just one question. Did you buy that software off the shelf? Like, or did you make it in-house?
No, it was purchased from a vendor.
Oh, thank goodness. Like in government procurement, thank you for resisting the urge to build it in-house on technology. Thank you for resisting the urge to customize it in some kind of weird way. Like, this allows you to, other police forces have done this, these products exist, you were able to buy this product, implement it quickly. I'm so encouraged by that. Thank you.
Under Deputy Chief Bauer's leadership, we did a scan across the country, saw what people were doing. went through a procurement process, identified the best vendor, and we've hit the ground running, and our officers are truly violent.
Thank you.
The last question I have, how was this, is this considered a downgraded version of, say, a body worn camera?
Well, I wouldn't say a
Body
downgrade.
worn camera light?
It's not it's not a body worn camera, but what obviously what it does is it's a change for our members, a culture change. We have officers, like kind of like three different kind of versions of officers as far as how they do certain things. So this gets us to the point where when you're dealing with in the digital world, so getting into body worn cameras, it gives them that exposure to when you do have a body worn camera on, which I hope we get there someday. It gets them to that point where they know how to do business in a different way. So it's the start of it for sure. It's the infrastructure, especially with the DEMS project for body worn. Yeah.
It really is the foundational piece to the next.
Yeah.
Next progression.
Thank you. I have to excuse myself. Thank you very much for meeting, but thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you for the presentation, Richie Miller. Okay, just one second. Okay.
That concludes the business plan. People like that, it makes me proud of you, actually chief, there's amazing people, so dedicated, so thank you for.
So that, so we'll need a motion to accept this as information. Item 6. Colleen, seconder, Daphne, all those in favor? Opposed, carried. So we'll move on to item 7, the 2024 second quarter business budget update, Winnipeg Police Service.
Good morning. I can still say that. I just checked. I have the Q2 update, which includes a financial update status for fiscal year ending 2024. So for 2024, the service is expecting to have a budget shortfall on the mill rate of 3.7 million, and that can be attributed to the $7 million expenditure management target. At the end of Q2, we are forecasting to achieve 2.7 million of the $7 million target, and that's by way of a few things. One of them is salary and benefit savings as a result of the duration of the hiring process within the professional staffing complement. We're also going to have some accommodation savings related to our new North District station, as Acting Chief Standard mentioned before. We just moved in earlier this month, but we were budgeting to move in quite a bit earlier in the year, so we'll have some savings there. And there was also some unbudgeted additional revenue. There would have been additional savings if it were not for inflationary pressures on our non-salary budget lines, as well as an unrealized escalation on our public safety basket funding. So to summarize, about 2.7 million will be achieved of the $7 million savings target. This leaves a savings shortfall of 4.3 million. However, we are projecting an increase in traffic enforcement revenue, which would bring the total forecasted budget shortfall down to 3.7 million. And that concludes my update. Thank you.
Questions? Quick question, in terms of the purchase of fuel, considering the gas tax holiday that we're having, has that had an impact on fuel costs?
It's all built into our budget. Those will come from city corporate finance. Offhand, I don't recall there being a significant amount of savings. There might be a little bit in there, but I can certainly check to see if there's been a great impact or not.
Any other questions? $7 million, but I think we have to remember that we started a budget year with a deficit. A credit card deficit is $7 million. We're not starting like flush, and we're already in the hole of $7 million at the start of the budget cycle. So already in the second quarter, we chipped away at it, and we're down a little bit, and we managed to. And it's only the second quarter. We're hoping that for the next 3 months we'll chip away even more. And when we talk about where we're budgeted,
people have a tendency to go overspending, they're out of control. But really, we're hitting our deficit that we're supposed to pay $7 million. That's already a deficit at the start.
An important distinction. So
It is,
thank
it
you for
really is.
clarification. Okay. I need a motion to accept this to move on to SBC Finance. Colleen, seconder. Evan, all those in favor? Opposed, carried. Item 8.
This is just our environmental scan. The board's already approved it and we're just approving it for publishing.
So I need a motion to approve this for publishing. The environmental scan or the environment for policing, Winnipeg 2024. Somebody move the motion. Daphne, thank you. Seconder, Colleen, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. Winnipeg Police Board, summary of expenses. I'll turn it over to you.
This is our audited statement that also gets attached to our annual report. And so the board's had a little look at it. It's pretty straight up. We have a small budget. We stayed on target. Yeah.
I need a motion to accept this as
It gets attached to the annual report to
SPC.
Community Services.
Community Services. So Damon, seconder, Diane, all those in favor? Opposed, carried. Item 10, Winnipeg Police Board annual reports.
This is the annual report that will be advanced to SPC Community Services on approval of the board.
Okay, need a motion to advance this. Colleen, seconder, Kevin, all those in favor? Opposed, carried. Item 11, Winnipeg Police Board second quarter budget.
We are on target.
Okay. We've all had a chance to review that. Kevin, move the motion, seconder. Damon, all those in favor? Opposed, carried. And the schedule of meetings for 2025 of the Winnipeg Police Board.
These are to be adopted by the board.
Yep.
These are the regular public.
So these are the regular public meetings of the Winnipeg Police Board. Well, I had a chance to review them. I need a motion to accept them. Kevin, Colleen, all those in favor? Opposed, carried. And then we will have somebody move a adjournment.
One last thing, I apologize,
That close.
I was fingerprinted of a unit that, nobody really talks about that much, but next week is our National Forensic Science Week appreciation for all our education type of personnel. I have to tell you, they work 24/7, they're on call all the time. They see a lot of things and deal with a lot of things that most people don't deal with. They're critical to the court process, and every time you see a guilty conviction, you know, rest assured they like to be part of it. I have overwhelming stats to tell you each, you know, what they do, but there won't be time to do that. But they're just a remarkable bunch of people. So next week we pay tribute to them, and I'll just maybe we can send you some stats on what they do. It's remarkable, and they're dedicated to it.
Thank you for that, Chief Standard, and I don't want to minimize that at all, but you also had another report or briefing that was provided to the board with respect to International Women in Policing Day. That was just on Wednesday.
Yes.
So if you just share a few comments on that.
It was yesterday, and
Or yesterday.
you know, with a couple of things. Women are very important in our organization. They play a critical role in different ways. So it took a long time for us to start hiring women. It was definitely male driven at one time. I'm pleased to announce that we've done a lot of good work with. They add such a layer of commitment, such a layer of different expertise, different views. So we're dealing with different things, and they're greatly, you know, they're really valued. It's a long time coming, but I think we're about 20% now. We're coming along. At one time, I think many years ago, we maybe had 2 or 3 in service in the organization, but you know, we praise the International Day yesterday.
Thank you for that acknowledgement.
We showed them a picture and everybody thought I went to school with. We showed the first, woman, which is dated what?
It was Mary Dunn, yeah. It was-
1960.
Yeah,
19
yeah,
what?
1916, yeah.
And so I became the email saying, did you know her? Did you go to school with her?
I sent him one of those.
All right, can we have sort of move adjournment?
Maybe just before that, if I could ask the board to some kind of formal acknowledgement to both of the groups that we're acknowledging and celebrating in a formal way.
Okay.
That we do that.
Absolutely. And with that, Daphne's call for adjournment, doesn't need a seconder. All those in favor? Those carried, we'll stand adjourned. We can start.